Coe did a great job preparing me professionally in the idea of really at the core of what a liberal arts education is about. Being able to learn a new skill, adapt, learn how to learn, and have, of course, a well-rounded background to approach a problem with the tools and abilities to solve that problem.
The big thing that comes to mind for me when I think about Coe is the community aspect. It's unbelievable, it's indescribable. You have to feel it to know what I'm saying, but I do want to say that because it made such a huge difference for me and my ability to be successful.
Coe really allowed me the flexibility to explore what I wanted to do. I've had a magical career, and so much of it was due for the freedom and the individuality that I felt at Coe.
The environment of a school like Coe will give you the flexibility to try things and to have the relationships with faculty that are somewhat impossible at the higher level.
Coe is a stellar academic institution in a phenomenal city here in Cedar Rapids with plenty of amenities, lots of opportunities for internships.
Words of wisdom is definitely take a campus tour. I truly believe, I remember hearing this in high school. They say when you go and you get on to the right campus, you'll know, you'll feel it.